Welcome to the deep dive. I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine it's 1891.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right, and you are suspended 200 feet in the air, just dangling there in this open-air carriage.
It sounds terrifying, honestly.
Oh, it is. It's dangling from these massive steel cables, and there's this huge steam engine cranking below you, dragging you straight up the side of a jungle-covered mountain in Hong Kong.
And, the craziest part is why you're doing this.
Exactly. You're making this insane steampunk-style vertical commute for one simple reason: to escape the plague-ridden laborers who are literally dying in the streets directly beneath you.
Yeah, it's a staggering image of inequality. I mean, it perfectly shatters that illusion we all have about how cities are actually built.
Right, because we usually look at a modern city skyline and assume there was some master plan, like someone playing a city-building video game.
Oh, totally. Like they just cleared a grid, zoned everything perfectly, hit go,
And boom, a city. We really want to believe urban development is this neat, logical progression of steel and glass.
But that master plan concept is almost always a complete myth. Real cities, they're forged in the chaos of human desperation and incredible wealth and just these violent collisions of class.
Which brings us perfectly to our topic today. We're unpacking this really fascinating, in-depth historical research report on Sai Wan Ho, which is a district in the eastern part of Hong Kong Island.
And what the sources show is that this neighborhood isn't just, a dot on a map.
Not at all. It's basically a 200-year-old laboratory of extreme landscape experimentation and social transformation.
Our mission for this deep dive is to pull you through 5 incredible historical stories from these sources.
Yeah, we're going to uncover the hidden physical gems left behind, things that make for perfect tourist exploration today.
And of course, we'll reflect meaningfully on how a place really shapes its people. But to understand any city, you kind of have to start at the literal bedrock.
Right. Before the high-rises, before it was an industrial hub, this coastal edge was a rugged frontier for raw materials.
Yeah, the 1840s, dawn of Hong Kong's colonial era. The area had this massive granite boom.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the sheer scale here jumped off the page for me. In 1841, an astonishing 22% of Hong Kong's entire population were stonecutters.
Like almost 1 in 4 people.
Exactly. Mostly Hakka immigrants migrating from Wuhu, settling in the Kundungam area. They were mining this highly prized granite to export across Asia.
But I mean, this wasn't just casually picking up rocks.
No, it's like a 19th century gold rush, but for granite. Highly dangerous, physically grueling work. You're blasting sheer cliff faces with primitive tools.
And when a whole community is doing that level of daily life-threatening work, they need a spiritual coping mechanism.
Oh, definitely. You've got unpredictable explosives, typhoons.
Right, so they brought in the worship of Tam Kung.
Ah, yes, the boy god.
Exactly. He's based on a historical figure who supposedly achieved enlightenment at just 13 years old, and he was famous for 2 things.
Retaining his eternal youth and having the power to control the weather.
Which is, the ultimate wish fulfillment for a 19th century stonecutter.
Right. You desperately want someone to stop the torrential rain while you're dangling off a cliff, and you're praying to keep your youth because, frankly, that job usually killed you before you got old.
What's fascinating here is how this shared occupational faith became the glue for deep social cohesion. It went way beyond religion.
Yeah, it fostered early unionization, right?
Exactly. It facilitated the East and West guilds. They strictly regulated the trade, set prices, and the temple basically acted as their union hall.
And you can actually see the remnants of this today. It's an amazing hidden gem. If you walk down Tam Kung Temple Road, it takes this bizarre, unnatural curve.
Because of the boulder.
Yes, Tam Kung seal. In the 1960s, government contractors tried to blast it away to make a straight modern road, but unexplained accidents kept crippling their heavy machinery.
The cultural resistance was so intense they just gave up and built the road around the ancient rock.
I love that. And visitors today should definitely look out for the artifacts in the temple. There's a Qing dynasty bell, a carved table from 1909, and this super rare 1944 plaque from the Japanese occupation.
It's physical proof that empires came and went, but the stonecutters remained.
Mm.
But all that wealth they generated eventually changed the landscape above them.
Which brings us back to that terrifying steampunk cable car I mentioned at the start.
Right. So it's 1891. The area at sea level is plagued by bubonic plague, cholera, and typhoid.
Horrific stuff.
Awful. So the Swire company, Taikoo, spends £5,000, which was an astronomical sum, to build a 2.3-kilometer steam-driven cable car up Mount Parker.
Wait, so they built a steampunk-style open-air cable car dangling 200 feet in the air just so the executives could escape the heat and the bugs?
Yes. The sources state it was the world's first passenger-specific cable car. It went up to the Taikoo Sanitarium at 300 meters elevation.
That is just wild.
What's fascinating here is the stark vertical class segregation. The executives lived high up in the cool air, and, ironically, they used primitive oil lamps to maintain this idea of purity and, well, save money.
Meanwhile, the Chinese laborers living in these crowded, plague-ridden dorms at sea level actually had fully electrified lighting.
Right. The laborers got the modern light bulbs, but they got the disease, too. The cable car was eventually dismantled in 1932, once antibiotics and electric fans became common.
But the physical scars are still there in the jungle. If you hike the Hongpak Country Trail, you can still find these massive, moss-covered concrete pylons engulfed by vegetation.
People just walk right past them.
All the time. Hikers mistakenly assume they're military ruins from World War II. They have no idea they're standing on a pioneering piece of global industrial tech built purely for class segregation.
And, that segregation didn't just stay in the air. It evolved into a formalized 360-degree ecosystem on the ground.
Okay, so moving into our third story, the company town. By 1907, the Taikoo Dockyard opens. The area's population literally doubles in a decade.
Swire buys up huge plots of land. They build massive 4-story red brick dorms resting on stone blocks.
The sources describe these incredible sensory details, like the 7:50 a.m. steam whistle. It triggered thousands of workers to just rush the gates before they slam shut at 8 a.m. sharp.
It's industrial Pavlovian conditioning.
Exactly. It's like living in a massive real-life simulation game where your employer dictates literally everything. Even the streets were branded with the company name Tai'an, Taining, Taihong.
This is the concept of industrial paternalism. Because the colonial government lacked a real social welfare system at the time, the corporation became a state within a state.
They provided everything, right?
Oh, yeah. A hospital, a school, a cinema where tickets were just 20 cents, even a pool. It provided stability, sure, but it created a deeply dependent, captive workforce.
A velvet trap.
Precisely. If you cross the company, you don't just lose your job, you lose your home and your kid's school.
Man. Well, the remnants of that are hiding right in plain sight. The famous Tai'an building, which went up in 1968, stands exactly where those old dorms were.
And the vibe is still there.
Oh, completely. The ground floor is this incredibly dense, bustling market that perfectly continues the communal living vibe of the old docks.
You can also spot the old money hole window grills on the rebuilt 1960s dorms on Taichung and Taihong streets.
Oh, and tucked away on the ground floor of City Plaza 2, there's a carefully preserved 1900s dockyard stone plaque just sitting there.
Right inside the mall. But, when you build a pressure cooker of a company town like that, eventually that pressure finds an outlet.
And it did. Which brings us to the 1967 riots. Now, I want to be really clear with you listening. The sources here are dealing with a highly politically charged event, heavily influenced by the mainland's Cultural Revolution.
It's a very complex piece of history.
Extremely. We are strictly reporting the historical events directly from the text here without taking any sides, just looking at how the pressure cooker exploded.
So June 6, 1967, striking leftist workers held Taikoo managers James Castles and Duncan in the dockyard.
For an 8-hour public struggle, right? They were trying to force a confession of worker persecution.
Yes, and the aftermath was intense. The union leader, Tan Chuan, was arrested and tragically died in prison, which made him a martyr in the leftist papers.
While the colonial government simultaneously launched this massive media war against leftist bombings across the city.
What the research points out here is the profound sociological shift this caused. You have the broader working class in Sai Wan Ho caught literally in the crossfire.
Between radical leftist violence and colonial police action?
Exactly. And they were forced to make a choice. And their overwhelming desire for stability over constant struggle catalyzed a huge identity shift.
Right. They went from seeing themselves as temporary migrants just there to work and send money back home to identifying as permanent Hong Kongers.
It birthed that modern, localized identity because they had to claim the physical space they were standing on.
And the ghosts of that exact conflict are right beneath tourists' feet today. Underneath the shiny middle-class shopping mecca of City Plaza Phase 2, you can still find the original mooring bollards of the dockyard.
Preserved right there in the floor.
And even more ironically, the modern Sai Wan Ho Civic Center, this beautiful arts venue, sits directly on top of the old market area where the densest clusters of leftist protest slogans were once painted.
They literally built a theater over the battlefield.
It's wild. So while the dockyards at sea level were engulfed in all this industrial and political struggle, the hillsides above were facing a completely different crisis.
Right, a parallel crisis of sheer survival.
Mm.
Post-WWII, massive waves of refugees flooded into Hong Kong.
Tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, and they were building these chaotic, fire-prone squatter settlements on the hillsides. Places like Xing'an and Cowman villages.
But wait, if the company town handled the dock workers who was catching all these refugees falling through the cracks of a government that had no formal welfare system.
That's where the Holy Cross Church comes in. It was built back in 1914 with these primitive earth cow stones, basically mud and manure.
Oh.
But by the 1950s, it became the ultimate safety net. The research details this fascinating phenomenon of flower Catholics.
Flower Catholic. So they were just coming for the food.
Initially, yes. Refugees came to the church purely for foreign aid, flour, cheese, milk, clothes. It was completely transactional. But over time, they forged a deeply loyal, self-sustaining community.
Like Cowman Village, right?
Exactly. An entirely Catholic squatter village built on mutual aid when the official system completely abandoned them.
And there is this beautiful hidden continuity you can visit today. If you walk up Taishek Street, which means Big Stone Street, it's named after the massive boulder the original refugee school was built upon.
It's still there.
Yeah. But more importantly, outside the rebuilt Holy Cross Center today sits a community fridge. Anyone can just walk up and take food without registering. It's a stunning living echo of that 1950s refugee flower distribution.
It really is.
Yeah.
And when you synthesize all these stories from Sai Wan Ho, the sources point to three core meta-themes about how places shape people.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, we see how industrial paternalism physically shaped the landscape. The company town literally branded the streets. Second, there's this incredible resilience of marginal communities building informal order when the system fails, whether it's the Tan Kung worshippers or the Holy Cross refugees.
Right.
And third, it's the clash of these exact forces that forged a distinct, permanent local identity out of a transient population.
So what does this all mean? I want to challenge you, the listener, to go out and find additional information yourself. Take a walk in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, stop looking for the master plan.
Exactly. Look for the glitches. Where are the invisible boundaries in your city? What building, road curve, or local custom is actually a ghost of a 100-year-old labor dispute? Or a forgotten refugee crisis?
The history is always hiding in plain sight.
It really is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Go explore your own local history, and we'll see you next time.